we can have a character, we can add controls to them very easily, bring them to life, and there's enemies for you guys to play with. So, all right, everyone, welcome to this handy-dandy speedrun tutorial on how to use the Aavegotchi Unity SDK. With me is a good friend of mine, Coder Dan. Coder Dan, how are you?
Hey, friends. I'm doing well. How about you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. It's very late for me, very early for you. Perfect timing. I'm a night person. I'm guessing you're a morning person. No?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So there you go. It's perfect. So today we're going to run really quickly through the Aavegotchi Unity SDK. We've released a version of this through exported packages in the past. And for the first time, we now have a GitHub repo. You're going to be able to go into the Aavegotchi Unity, github.com/Aavegotchi/Unity-SDK. And this will be a public repo. Everyone will be able to see what's going on. We'll get back to this little link early. It's very important for installing the package. But before we go into the actual using it, let's give a quick overview of what's going on. So what does the package contain? It contains a basic naked 3D Aavegotchi, right? Which supports everything, eye shapes, absolutely everything. And we have this nice little README with everything, including wiki links if you're looking to see how complicated an Aavegotchi actually is. And they're complicated, but cool at the same time. We also contain all the animations and wearable assets in 3D and a way of combining them in a way that's as quick and easy for you as possible. We are also giving you guys assets for 4 liquidators: the Dire Tire, Fungi, Steady Odd, and the Liquor. These are from Gotchi Guardians, and they include the meshes, textures, and animations to give you a really nice jump start into creating a quick little demo like we will be doing later today. We also gave you guys the Aavegotchi dressing room sample in the project, which also contains some assets like the trees from Prong Meadow in Gotchi Guardians. This package will automatically install addressables in TextMesh Pro and DoTween for you, which are dependencies, and have been improved in the way that they're downloaded to hopefully cause a lot less issues for you. Right, so let's go back to that little link. If you go into our GitHub, first thing you're going to want to do after creating a project, you're going to need this link. So I'm going to copy that, and you should create a new project. I will be skipping that. I've already created a new one. Now, we learned today that it's very important that you create a universal 3D project, because if you go and make some weird project that doesn't have a render pipeline, things won't work very nicely.
Yeah, I tried this earlier. I think I'm a Unity noob. I don't even know which one I created, but it didn't contain
no idea. I don't
any of the Unity
that says
there was no universal pipeline or anything. So make sure if you're just setting this up, you want to click Universal 3D, right?
Right. So now we're working, right now I'm sharing with Unity 6, but this also will work with older versions of Unity up to a certain point. I haven't tested every existing version of Unity to know how far back we actually support, but chances are any new projects you make should be hunky-dory fine. Now, once you've started up your project, should look somewhat like this. The first thing you want to do is go into Window, Package Manager. And in the Package Manager, there's this little plus. You click on that and you say Install Package from Git URL. You paste that little Git URL that we mentioned earlier, and you click Install. I believe it should take somewhere between 5 to 10 minutes to install. There'll be a little spinner here when it's going. It's got to download and install about 1.8 gigs as of recording this. But the fun thing is if we ever add more features, you'll be able to just click Update. If there's a new version of the SDK, everything will be magically updated for you.
And also, if you are working with this, make sure that you can subscribe to notifications on the Unity SDK repo on GitHub. So when we do create a new release, I think you'll get a notification for that as well.
Right. And what this does by now having a GitHub package is there's really 2 folders in Unity. There's assets, which are things of your actual project, which you can modify, add, remove. And then there's packages. And like, for example, if I just try to open up, let's see, the sample Aavegotchi dressing room scene, it won't let me because it's read-only. It doesn't want you to modify or play with any of these files. Don't worry, you can still easily build on top of that. You may get a problem or error that it can't copy an addressable file. The wearables are, because there's so many of them, you don't want them all in memory, are actually loaded in from addressables. if you end up with that problem, the first thing you're going to want to do is go Window, Asset Management, Addressables, Groups. If you don't have it set up, you won't see this. You'll get like a setup window, right? Set it up. When it sets it up, it will create this addressable asset data folder. And what you're going to want to do is go into the app packages, Aavegotchi Unity SDK, addressable assets data, wearable addressable data, copy that and put it right here in your project. If you then return to the addressable group, you should see every single wearable. And without this, no wearables will work in the game. Now, we saw earlier that we couldn't open that scene. The scene, by the way, is in the SDK, runtime, samples, Aavegotchi dressing room. But that's not a problem because all you have to do is Control-C, copy, and go into your scenes folder, paste, and then you'll be able to open up that scene.
Let's do it.
You may end up a pop-up around this point to import TextMesh Pro. It's a very standard Unity package for showing text. Please make sure you set it up. Otherwise, you will see that there is no text in any of your UI. Now, for anyone that's new to Unity, it is quite normal for this UI, camera, and stuff to be completely disproportionate to the actual scene. One camera renders this, the other camera renders that. They don't see each other, so don't panic. And you'll notice that this comes with a simple little scene. If you ever use the dressing room on our website, because we do export it, this is exactly what it looks like. Yep, with the camera. In fact, the camera is right here. See how it's looking right at the Aavegotchi. Now, the lighting might be a little wonky here. You'll have to probably play with your global volume and your lights to try and get the right rendering that you want. That's not so easy to put into a package, but overall, it looks pretty good. Now, if we were to press play and pray to our programming Unity gods that everything somehow magically works, wait for my favorite taskbar of doom that I stare at too many times in a day. Especially when the projects get bigger, this taskbar can become hell. And if it's ever too long, I recommend you close Unity and reopen it as well. So then what do we end up with? We end up with the scene.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see the Aavegotchi is moving around. You can go and change the collaterals. Now, this is a missing material that's probably loading because this is not a build. Unity sometimes has to load in materials as needed. It's a little bit slow. It can take a second. But once it's loaded, usually things work pretty fast. We can change the eye shapes. All of that is kind of handled for you. Now, oh, look, this color is not even loaded. It's another material. Don't worry about it. Now, let's see. Let's give him, oh, yeah.
It takes a second, I guess.
Just got to be patient. There we go, the liquor brain. Again, the lighting in this scene is not so perfect by default. But if you go back to it, once it is loaded, it is quite fast. Now, what's going on with all of this, right? How is this working? God, I love this hat, by the way. It's such a sick hat. Shout out to Ibrahim who modeled it very nicely. So inside of our scene that I give you guys, there's a couple of things. Obviously a camera, because we need something to render from, right? We need to know that. We have the scene visuals, which is just this grid that we provided. This actually hole is from the bridge in Prong Meadow, by the way. In the dressing room, you don't see it because the camera never sees it, and I just moved the grid, but it's there. And sort of like a bubble to give a bit of the sky and some trees. Now, if you click on like one of the trees, you might go like, oh my God, how do I use it? If you go in the scene, you click on the mesh, you'll see that you have it right here in the package. Feel free to just copy those into your scene. You can add more trees. Again, this one doesn't have a material by default. I can just go and find the materials and copy them, but we're not going to do that right now. Then we have the global volume, which is lighting. No global volume, no lights. What I'm kind of complaining about, but different render pipelines, different projects can result in different lighting. Right, then I have this giant script of doom that I coded in about 2 days and 1 weekend and haven't really touched since, that just kind of handles all of that UI that you saw, all the links between all the game objects to kind of do that. Again, if you kind of want to see how the dressing room does some stuff, this is the script of doom that does it.
Can we look at the script real quick?
Sure. There we go. So all of the serialized fields. I mean, I've done bigger scripts. It's not the biggest. It's only 719 lines, but if you want to look at it, it starts. Now, you see the first line is Aavegotchi base.update for active data. Active data is the Aavegotchi data class. It is a very straightforward class. It contains things like haunt, collateral type, eye shape, eye color, body wearable IDs, skin IDs. You can learn more about some of these from the README, and some simple copy functions to make sure that if this data is copied to the next one. This is how we define what an Aavegotchi actually looks like. So if we go back to the scene and we click on this little Aavegotchi root, and we go a little bit further down, right? Oh, there's no script here. I don't know what that's for. There is the Aavegotchi base script, and the Aavegotchi base script contains a reference to that data class we were just looking at, right? So haunt ID, all that stuff. If I go and I change, let's say, do you know any IDs off the top of your head, Dan, that you'd like to see? You know what? I'm on another window. I'm going to click on a raffle, and you can see here now pet ID 153, and I'm gonna take a gamble. I'm gonna put 152. I'm just gonna click refresh. It's just so the update loop of Aavegotchi base, and it knows to override it with whatever I typed here. Otherwise, this is usually whatever was set last. So wait, if you go to 151, that'll probably be the purple. Yeah, there we go. So this is just a way of defining what the hell wearables, combination eyes. We can switch to the dye eyes if we want. Boom. So all of this dressing room does is it's mapping all of these little different buttons to changing these fields, right? Most of this, that's all it's doing. And it's just by code in Aavegotchi base, or even in the dressing room manager, you'll see it. If you go to the base class, Aavegotchi base, right? It's an Aavegotchi base. Update for data, and you can pass any data. It could be data that you've constructed by reading someone's wallet. It could be data that you created in a scriptable object to store an NPC is wearing this hat and these eyes and all that stuff. And you can grab any Aavegotchi base, say, I want you to render me with this data. And that's all you have to do. If you define the data properly and you have an Aavegotchi base, there's absolutely nothing else you need to worry about, which is pretty handy. So let's get rid of that pet for now. And I don't know, let's give him some fun eyes. I think that looks familiar, right? The Coder Dan glasses. I mean,
yes.
Not really.
As they're loading, there we go.
There we go. The Coder Dan shades. I think those are pretty good.
Yeah.
So what this doesn't give you, it does not give you a way of moving the Aavegotchi, right? You need to provide that yourself. There's just too many different ways and too many different games that will want to do it differently. So what I'd like us to do is let's make a quick little demo, quick little game. All right, let's get rid of this dressing room crap. I mean, it's great.
I want to see, maybe we could see an Aavegotchi attack a liquor or something like that.
Right. So let's do a quick simple demo. Usually what I recommend, let's move this here, is we will create in your project, I recommend you create your own prefab that just has an Aavegotchi base into it, right? So let's make a quick test. Usually you should organize your projects very nicely. Let's make a scripts folder. And here, let's create a new C#. Why is my brain scripting? They change things in Unity 6. Let's call it Coder Dan Adventure Controller. Okay. And then we'll open up our test project. Coder, I should find it pretty quick. Yeah, can't do many files with this. So first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create a reference, private maybe, to an Aavegotchi base. Yeah, let's just call it Aavegotchi. All right, let's make this a mono behavior, which is just a way of making a script that can be attached to a game object. And then let's see. Let's do a start function, void start. This is called when a game object is started in Unity. And let's go Aavegotchi dot update for data. new Aavegotchi data. Now you'll see that there's actually optional parameters here. That's because, again, of the addressables and the downloading of the wearables and everything. When you call update for data, there can be a time for all those assets to be loaded, right? So if you want to know when that update for data is actually finished, you can add in this callback, sort of like this. Uncompleted, yeah? Which is fine. But we're not doing that today. Instead, let's go and maybe just give him a soldier hat, because that's the only ID I can think of off the top of my head. And wearable ID equals 1. Yeah. So what we've just done now is, if we press play, well, first we have to add the script to the root, but it should automatically add the hat to this little Aavegotchi at the start. So it's compiling all our changes. Coder Dan adventure controller. We put our reference to the base, and if everything works, it should appear. By default, the Aavegotchi base also comes with an animator. It's a fairly complicated animator. So you see here, we've just created this little fun little NPC, which, again, the lighting in the scene sucks because the shadow is way too strong, but we're moving on.
Heavy.
Something about a global illumination is not working properly, but I don't want to debug that right now. So what's the next thing? Maybe we make a move, Dan? Up, down, left, right?
Yeah, a little bit. You mean, yeah, with user input?
Let's all agree that for a quick tutorial, I will not be doing anything fancy. If Unity engine input believe get key down keycode.w. Let's use WSD. Yeah. Let's go and say my transform position plus equals vector 3. I'm sorry, it's just I have to add in a float for the speed at which we move, because it's very hard otherwise to make sure. So XYZ, Z is usually forward, so we're gonna go 0, 1, 0. Actually, let's use our speed. There's a good chance this is just gonna be way too fast. I don't know. I don't remember the proportions of this scene. Right, and we just help this because we got to do all 4 keys. W, S, A, and D. And S should be the opposite. A should be in the x-axis. And I may have these inverse, but that's okay. So if we go back. Now, the thing that's usually important when you set this up is to know your axes. So here, the z-axis is forward, as I predicted. We have a speed of 1. So if we press play, and we go, oh, key down is just when the key steps down. I'm so used to key up.
Close enough.
Close enough. So we got movement, not the movement I wanted. That's okay. Oh, it's because it's local, global. No, local's good. Oh, yeah. It's very obvious though. Z. I literally said Z and I modified Y. YZ. Is key down? All right. Get key, yeah. So just get keys good. Next, you'll notice that while we're moving, he didn't play any animation. So let's actually have him animate based off the movement that we're doing. What do you say? That sounds like a good next step.
Yep.
So to do that,
do we have any basic animations that we're providing in the SDK for
everything that's in the dressing room plus more? It's also in the documentation. Nope. Yeah, all these animations are, yeah, here we go.
There we go.
All of these animations and these are all provided. Movement animations are a little bit fun. Aavegotchi base, does it have a reference to its animator? I forget. Yes, Gotchi animator. So we can just go from there. Now, the way animators work is if we go window, animation, there's two animation windows that are very important. One is the animator, which is how you control the different animations and how they work with each other. And animation, which is for previewing specific and working on specific animations. In this case, we're just going to focus on the animator. And yeah, this is a crazy animator with a lot of parameters, right? It is probably the most complex animator I've done in Unity. Again, if you want to know more about these, you should go and read the README. I explain how some of these work. In this case, yes, correct window. What we're going to do, we're going to create a Boolean is moving, which is going to be false by default. If any of these is true, we're going to make it true. Very quick logic. If it's moving, we're going to go and up. Well, actually, we're going to update it anyways. We're going to go Aavegotchi, right? Dot animator. No, is it not exposed? Animator, it's private. So that's fine. We're just going to create a reference to it ourselves. Private animator, Aavegotchi animator. And here, we're going to go and say Aavegotchi animator.set Boolean. And if we look at the actual animator, there is a Boolean called is moving. It's very important that the string's there. And full disclaimer, there is better ways than using strings. IDs are better. But for this case, this is perfectly fine. And we're going to put it as true.
I need to scroll down a little bit. Yeah.
Sorry. Now, this will turn on his moving animation, but his moving animation actually cares about the direction that he's moving. So that way, if he's moving forward, he'll lean forward. If he's moving back, he'll lean back, right? So what we typically do is we will also provide these two values, direction Z, direction X. Aavegotchi animator dot set float. Come on. Am I in the, oh yeah, I want the Polish keyboard. Direction Z. And then we'll create two floats. Float Z movement 0.0f. Never start variables with a capital letter. Float X movement equals 0.0f. And here we'll do that. Animator, float X. Hopefully that works. X movement. And then if we're moving forward, now he can lean forward a lot, a little bit, depending on a value from 0 to 1. 1 is leaning forward as much as he possibly can. 0 is not leaning forward at all. So in my case, I prefer to do something like 0.7. Z movement equals negative 0.7. I did document the axes here. I did. So left is -1, forward is +1. So A would be left, right?
Yep.
Make sure we modify the correct values. All right, so what's going to happen? First, we did add a reference to the animator. There's nothing wrong about this. So we're just going to have to set that really quick. Right, here it is, no animator. We know it's right here. And now if we press play.
How did you get the animator? How did you set that?
So when you drag a game object into a property in Unity, if there's only one thing that will fit there, we'll automatically grab the component within it.
Where did you grab it from? Oh, there he goes.
That's why I wanted to put a speed before. Now he's moving way too fast. Okay.
There it is. Oh, nice. Got that gotchi lean going.
Now it is full root motion, so we could combine them very nicely. And ideally, if you want to make a nicer experience, and it looks like my ZX are reversed, that's okay. Yeah. You might want to play with this direction that we were just looking at, and kind of like tween or escalate the value up the longer he's moving in a direction or based off the speed he's going. Because right now it's a little bit janky, but it does the job. All right, so we've got our character moving. What do you say next? We give him a quick little attack.
Yep.
All right. So again, if we look at the animator, there's usually two types of values. If it's a circle, it means it's a trigger. Again, this is in the documentation of the README, which means it will just do that animation very quickly and then go back to what it was before. If it's a square, it's a Boolean, which means it's a state that as long as it's checked is true. Always be careful when checking parameters in an animator when the game isn't running, because you might actually save that the jumping is on from the beginning, and you might not want him to be jumping from the beginning of the game forever. So we want, let's see, we can do a spin attack if you want, or we can do, probably there's an attack here. Which one would you like to see?
Let's do the spin attack.
All right, so we're going to copy that.
So to copy it, you kind of click on it, double click on it.
Yeah, you can double click on it, or you can just memorize the letters and type them out. There is also a better way, which is converting a string into a hash. But like in our case, it doesn't really matter. So we're going to go if input get key up. I'm going to do get key up just so that it only does this when I let go of the spacebar. Yeah. And it doesn't spam this action like crazy. Keycode.space. Again, we just happily grab our animator and we go set trigger. Right? Remember I was talking about there's Booleans, which were those squares. Then there's floats, which are like a value between negative 0.12, whatever. Yeah. And then there's triggers, which are just one-time things. We know the name of our trigger, and that's all we have to do.
Nice.
One fun thing that I will show off in a minute. You can find all the wearable IDs in the documentation of the universe here.
Yep.
And let's look for a sword. So 311. Remember 311. All right. So now, if we press play, and I press spacebar, remember it's going to be when the spacebar button goes up only, right? On the frame in which it went up, he should do a spin attack. Wow.
Boom. Whoa, there he goes.
Wow. Now you'll notice he's using a random arm. Sometimes he'll do it from the left, sometimes he'll do it from the right. Is it
I think that's one thing we've talked about before. Is it possible to control which arm the attack is coming from?
So certain animations like the spin attack or the melee will look at what's in your hands. And like a -1 means it's in your left hand, a 1 means it's in your right hand, or vice versa, I forget. And a 0 means it's either both hands have a sword or neither hands have a sword. Right? So if you have like two guns and you want to do a melee attack, there is a melee version of attack with a gun in your hand. It probably won't be as super fun. But if, let's say, we go here where we see we have the hat and we go into the left-hand wearable and we put that sword, right, and we refresh it, right, you'll see as soon as it loads, now he has a sword. Now, every time he spins attack, he will always do it with his sword hand, every single time.
Smart.
And if I switch the sword hand into the other one, he will now spin attack with the other sword hand. This works for grenade animations, preferring the hand with an actual grenade on it. Shoot animations, preferring the hand with a gun in it. Yeah. So the other thing you can always do, by the way, in the animator, if you're ever curious, is you can actually test it. So it's like, hey, what happens if I play Victory? Boop, boop, boop. Yeah, you can preview the animations. You can do a Victory fast. You can see they're kind of overriding. If I go and I shoot, pew, pew, He's always going to choose the empty hand if I have a sword in the other one. But if I remove the sword, and again, as long as the data is correctly set for the character that you want, all of this is free in the SDK. So now he's just randomly going to choose between the hands.
And he does the pop animation with his mouth as well. Pop, pop,
yes. Pop. Pew, pew. I don't think we put the sounds in the SDK, but in Gotchi Guardians, he makes a pew sound.
Yeah.
Every time he shoots. So you can see here there's a random seed being set into the Aavegotchi base every frame, and that's how it's choosing what to do. Same thing with idle breakers. He's looking to the left right now. That was randomly chosen. This time, he's going to cheer, which is his way of sticking his tongue out. If you ever really want to play and add animations, it is a fairly complex thing. I have not added documentation for it, but essentially, there's two bodies. There's the body that has the mouth drawn on it, right? Like the smiley face. And then there's the other body that has an open mouth. That's because the mesh changes so much when we open the mouth that we just don't have a choice to do that. While I'm talking about him, maybe let's remove this hat. So it's that easy to change the character. It's that easy to add controls and animate him. Again, we didn't save the change from 1 to 0.5. So he is on too much caffeine right now. He's moving really fast. There is a lot of animations, right? We even have, dances for you guys. Yeah, we've got another dance. Ooh, 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 ooh. And, salute. So there's just so much for you guys to play with that I'm hoping you won't need to make more animations anytime soon. If there's ever a big need for that, please let us know. I can add more documentation onto how the animations work. And we can also maybe want to make those animations for all of us. So
I know some people have even, I've seen some of the projects, I think Gotchi Battler did a little bit of extension of the animation. So this is also, it is an open source SDK. So if you are creating animations, you can also create a PR on the repo. We'll review it and we can merge it in, and your animation can also, this is a collective project.
Absolutely.
So we welcome any sort of submissions for new animations that you'd like to include.
If you go into the prefabs in runtime, there is a liquidator folder, and you can just quickly add in, let's say, the liquidator. Where did he go?
There he is.
So these are also coming with all the animations that we use in Gotchi Guardians. Again, this texture will load. Again, you can look at the animator of that character. The liquor is a little bit deeper, a little bit complicated. You can make him start moving. You can make him take a hit. We also have variations based off combinations. So he plays a different animation if he's moving and he's hit. We have death animations for you guys. You can see here, he played that animation when he was moving, and he'll play a different animation if he's not moving. With a seed allowing him to do special stuff. And of course, if you would like to lick, we also provided the lick and the attack. And we're not going to code it for you guys. It just works exactly the same as we just showed. You make your game object above it, you grab the animator, and you just call the correct things, and you can end up with a fun guy, and a dire tire, and a steady lad. The dire tire is a little tricky because we actually handle as like collision attack with movement ourselves, so it's not animated. But look, they're moving. We're all along. We're all friends, and
kill them.
So well, we have nothing doing damage. We have no hitboxes. We have no concept of health, and we're definitely not going to do that today, right? But as you guys can see, we can have a character. We can add controls to them very easily. We can bring them to life, and there's enemies for you guys to play with. So I'm kind of excited to see what you guys can do with all of these fun things. I hope you guys see the potential and ease of access for this stuff. I really don't recommend you start playing with the way an Aavegotchi is built. They are quite complex. We have wearables that disable sleeves. So every single body wearable has their sleeves as separate objects as from the main, so that if I detect that you have an energy gun in the left hand, we remove the sleeve. And that's like one of the more simple exceptions that we have in the game right now. The idea was to make it as easy for you guys to not have to worry about all of that. And all you really need to do is, again, call the correct animations. There's quite a lot to choose from, and make sure that you set up your data based off what you want to do. And as you saw, it is quite simple and easy to make any NPC character that you want. Or if you were to get the wallet information in your own way, because we don't provide that for now, Dan. I know that's probably something we'll eventually want to add to the SDK, but there's some mitigating consequences. For us, it's very simple. You get those numbers. The wallet stores wearables by numbers, just like us. You just remap it into this structure, update your Aavegotchi base. Boom, you've got Coder Dan in your game. Boom, you've got two flags Aavegotchi in your game.
We'll do once we add that in, we can do another tutorial once we add in the wallet part and fetching the Aavegotchis and everything. Once those are in the next version of the SDK. So this SDK is also continually under development, and if there's any features or things that you would like to see, you can also make an issue in the GitHub, and we'll see it. And if we agree with it, then we'll get it coded. Or you can also help out by making PRs as well if it's something simple.
I'm sure there's improvements. This has been a side project for me because I've also been implementing.
You're also building Gotchi Guardians at the same time. All of the tech that we have in here is the same tech that we're using for Gotchi Guardians and Gotchiverse 3D. So we'll be continuously updating this, and Spirit Force Arena. Yep. So awesome. Well, thanks, Slama, for giving us this great overview. I know I'm going to be jumping in and getting my own project set up and building some things with the Aavegotchi Unity SDK. And it's been fun. It's been a pleasure, sir. We'll drop the link to the repo in the description of this video as well, and we'll put it on the screen here as well. So encourage everyone
to like and subscribe.
Definitely like and subscribe to the Aavegotchi YouTube.